The founding fathers left us with a warning. If you blow the horn with less than pure intentions, it will turn to tin and can never be used.
But a president has to take risks, have the courage to admit that his administration is not all-knowing, and blow that magic silver horn to summon someone who is.
Yes, but what if we become too reliant on them and they disappear after the next new moon, as was written?
Yeah.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome to the Rebel Love Show. We are a once-a-week broadcast from Manchester, New Hampshire, where we are pro-pot, pro-gun, and pro-coffee. You can find all of our content at rebelloveshow.com. I am Mathias.
And I am the Rebel Mistress. And we have a very special guest here today.
We have none other than the myth, the man, the legend, Sterling Lujan. How's it going, sir?
Going well. How are you guys today?
Pretty good. Rob's
Awesome.
been trying to get you on the show for a while now. How long have you guys known each other?
Oh, that dates back. I remember messaging you like it had to be like when I have two like Facebook accounts, and when I first started getting into like activist stuff, I created a second profile. This goes back like 4 years ago. Yeah, the Volunteers Rebel. That's like I'm the artist formerly known thereof. I don't go by that moniker anymore. But I remember friending Sterling. You had another YouTube channel a long time ago, didn't you?
Yeah,
I think I messaged you about that.
Yeah, I just had it. It was just Sterling Lujan YouTube channel, but I didn't do a whole lot on it at the time. But I think that's probably what you're referring to, Rob. I know we did have a lot of communication though.
Yeah,
we've known each other for a long time.
We talked to each other before I made the move here, which feels like 10 years ago. Like that's how long ago to me it feels like. I know I've only been here 2 years, but it feels like 10 years ago.
Right. So how long have you been involved in the Liberty movement, Sterling?
Probably about 7-8 years, I think.
But you never made the move, or you never had the interest to move to New Hampshire?
I've considered it, but my circumstances haven't really allowed me to, at least for the last couple of years, haven't allowed me to pursue that particular path. And now I am sort of stationary and trying to go through school, unfortunately, the academia setting. So I'm wanting to at least complete that first before I consider making a move, or before Cecilia and I consider making a move to New Hampshire.
But
I loved my trip up to Porkfest and stuff.
You're in Texas, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Stars at night. I mean, I think that's awesome. We won't make it out to Porkfest this year, but I do remember meeting you last year at Porkfest, and Rob was very excited. And did you come over to our house or something, or you guys went to dinner? I don't remember. Did that happen last year?
No, I met him up at Karma with Murdoch.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah.
Do you hang out with Murdoch at all? Do you participate in the Don't Comply Texas, or I can't remember.
Don'tcomply.com.
Don'tcomply.com. Come and take it, Texas.
Everywhere.
Is that your activism?
By the way, Al Loren picked up the Don't Comply show, so you can listen to his show on the podcast loop on Al Loren.
Is that in your activism, Sterling, or what kind of activism have you been doing in the last 8 years?
Right. Well, this is how I've tended to characterize what I do. I'm not as much of a frontline kind of guy. I don't have a real interest in doing frontline type of activism. Maybe at some point, but that's not in the cards for me right now. What I've mainly been working on are philosophies for anarchists. My main audience is anarchists. I teach communication. I teach how psychotherapy and how counseling skills can be translated into anarchist philosophies. And so that's what I've really been focused on right now. And I've started to go pretty public with that information. So, and then I guess to go back a little bit and answer your question about Murdoch. Murdoch and I have become pretty good friends. Cecilia and I, we go and we hang out with him and stuff. We've had dinner. He's just a great human being, great person. But I haven't done anything with the Don't Comply yet. We may consider going down there and doing some stuff with him though in the near future.
Cool. I mean, so you blog is what you mean by, you're not on the front line and you've been doing some stuff recently. Because I read some of your blogs on, just like the psychonaut stuff. But do you blog about anything else like pertaining to, anarchism and stuff like that? Or is that like in the works? Or am I just missing out? Where can I find your blog?
Right. Well, my material is on psychologic-anarchist.com, and I write about a whole bunch of different subjects. Yeah, I've talked about psychedelics quite a bit. Really, lately, I've done these blog posts on a new form of anarchism that's a little different than anarcho-capitalism and voluntarism per se. And it's just referred to as relationalism, and it's more of an empathetic and communicative type of anarchism that is not based on the traditional, what they call the traditional vectors of anarchism, which would be the logical, the economic, and the moral perspective.
What is it based on?
Yeah, can you give me another example of relational anarchism?
Yeah, give us a
I'm
definition
trying to
of
understand.
Right. Well, first, there's a couple of other terms. If you guys a lot of people don't prefer relationalism. It's kind of long, and you can fumble around with it in your mouth for a while before it gets out. But soft anarchism has been popular. Therapeutic anarchism, or some other terms for it.
That just sounds like safe space to me. Like, like they need
safe
a safe
space for anarchists.
Right, a little different than that. Well, basically defined relationalism is the idea that if we maintain open communication with people who don't necessarily believe in anarchism or haven't really thought about it, if we maintain open communication with them and we try to make a connection, make an empathetic connection, and try to have an authentic relationship with those people, that in and of itself is a prerequisite to any of the other modes of anarchism. So it's essentially a way to change culture and to change society through our relationships directly, rather than trying to use these hard-hitting methods of persuasion that involve raw argumentation and logic and those areas of anarchistic thought.
Oh, that's interesting. I've always looked at it as like an individual liberation, and then maybe I can help others along the way. Because everyone's kind of a statist, even some libertarians. So I feel like the only way to kind of get the message across is like through you and how you live. And like when I talk to like a statist or someone who doesn't really know the philosophy, only thing I can do is just like give them my point of views, and like maybe they can empathize with it. So I didn't know there was a word for that. But I guess I'm practicing relational anarchism.
I mean, for me, it's just like I try to live my life,
Right.
I try to walk the walk as much as I can. Every activist picks and chooses their battles. You can't go full anarchist all the time because, obviously someone's going to throw you in a cage for it. But I do try to just my life, just live as free as I can and use that to hopefully inspire like other statists to kind of let go of the ideas of, threatening others. Cause I'm not hurting anyone, I'll talk about anything that I'm doing, like in regards to like how I will stand up to a cop if I feel the need to, especially if I get pulled over, which happens all the fucking time to me.
Right.
I do feel like that we're kind of both biased though. Like if someone's like a super statist, like we don't maybe want to be too close of friends with that person. Or I don't know. Some people just won't accept it, or you can't change it. So
for me, it's kind of like if someone has love in their heart, I feel like I can reach them even if they're a statist.
Oh, please. You're like, oh, that guy's a statist. Forget that guy.
Well, it depends on the guy. If the person's like, all pro drug war and pro war and stuff like that, like, even if I like the person, like I'm not going to. It's really hard to relate to them. And even then, I think anarchists it's too much of a line in the sand, where like we're too hardcore sometimes. Like we will cut people off. It's like a Molyneux effect. Like, you'll cut them off completely if they don't fit like, a certain block. And let's be honest, most people aren't going to fit into our realm of thinking.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like with our like culture and the way things are today, especially my generation, I feel like people are a lot more open to things. They just don't necessarily know what they're looking for. So speaking of that, like how do you recommend like going about with like if someone wants to try this relational anarchism, how can they communicate with their peers differently. Well, you're gonna have to answer that when we come back.
So Marvin will come back with Sterling right after the breaks here on LRN.FM.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android.
Oh, this is Cell 411. I haven't heard of that commercial yet. Hey, Sterling. Okay, yeah, there's commercial breaks. So we come back at 20 after.
Okay.
So we have a 4-minute break here, and then the next break's at 29 after, and then the next break's at 47 after. So like we go on the break, come back, go on the break, come back. People can go watch live at if you go to rebelloveshow.com/live, because we're live on YouTube right now. So people on YouTube can be watching us live. But if you go to rebelloveshow.com/live, you can watch and chat live. So I don't know if you want to share it on your pages or not, but they can chat and watch live on there. And I don't know, and I also don't know if I can take Skype calls with you on Skype. Like I don't know if I can do multiple Skype calls. I've never tried to do like more than one at a time.
Persistent little shits were somehow plugging right along like nothing had even
Hold on a second.
You look at the oil spills, greenhouse gases, and God knows what else we're throwing at them.
Yeah.
You think, yeah, those subtropical should have been wiped out decades ago. But nope, these sons of bitches are still around and doing better than ever.
In other news, a grasshopper is dismembered by a future Supreme Court justice. A man having a great time will soon have to apologize to everyone. And Rand Paul pretends to be asleep so his dad will carry him in from the car.
All right.
This is the Onion News Network.
LRN.FM is proud
I
to
got my
announce our
games
official
right now.
listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime
thanks.
on your smartphone or tablet.
All right, peace.
Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search
Never-
for
Hey, babe.
LRN.FM
Never
in
ceases
the
that-
Android or Apple app
and-
stores. Please download.
Like
follow
I
us
make
on
the
then
joke
share the link on
that
your social media, and let your
that
friends
I'm
and
like the
family know
producer of
how
all
you're
these different
listening to
shows,
LRN.FM.
but it's like sometimes I feel like
Download it
Ian's
now,
my producer.
free
He's like the
at
producer of the producer.
Look on YouTube. It's live and then share on Facebook.
Since
But
time began,
mine
tyrants have taken aim at
should be
personal
live.
liberties.
See if you can find it.
Now there's a movie
I was telling
that aims
Cecilia
back.
to boot it up and share it
The
on my
government
page.
has
Yeah.
no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
I'm just trying to fix some of the shots really quick while we're in the break here. Let's see
Today,
here.
many
Oh, that's not the shot I want to fix.
outlaws do so only
fix
because
the
it
0.
provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits.
So yeah,
and
I'll be switching the shots and it's probably going out to you the shot that I'm going to. So you may not see us from time to time, but we still hear you. So just FYI.
And the connections you got just good, pretty good so far. Right?
Yeah, I was a little worried about it with the video. I'm glad it's so far so good. I don't have the greatest PC, so like it's kind of like pushing it to the extreme, running Skype video, but I think it's going pretty good so far.
The 3 most important things you can do.
So when we come back, we'll probably talk about
friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking
why did
profile.
I do
2,
that?
buy the things you buy online through
fuck that.
shop.lrn.fm.
We'll probably talk about
3,
on
give
break.
$5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
So,
You
yeah,
likely
you
buy
can say
all
it's on the
kinds of
Rebel
things
Show.
online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the
About to
same
go back.
great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage
Okay,
Daily
there we
Precious
go.
Metals Update. In early trading Tuesday, gold is down $15 at $1,237 per ounce. Silver is $8.
So yeah, anyways, when we come back, we'll probably talk about
Bitcoin is trading
more
at
about
145
relational
US
anarchy.
dollars. If you
And
would like more prices to buy gold or
after that, we'll
silver,
probably
this
go
is an
into
excellent opportunity.
your
Buy on
psychonaut
the
journey because we're
Find out more.
we're both going on our own psychonaut journeys, and we're both kind of been going farther and farther down the rabbit hole. So
I'm all the way down the rabbit hole.
you say that now, but I don't know if that's the case.
I think I figured out like the secrets
We're
of life.
We're coming back, guys.
And and welcome back to the Rebel Love Show. Before we went on break, we were talking a little about relational anarchism, and it's just basically, you know, talking to your peers about new philosophies. And I just wonder, like, is there a softer way to kind of bring up philosophies? Because you know what they say, don't talk about politics or anything at work. Do you have like a softer approach that you kind of recommend or that you've used yourself? Maybe a story where, you know, you met someone new and kind of explained your philosophies to them through that method?
Before I answer the question, I want to preface what I'm going to say with something. Where a lot of these ideas came from was directly from my experience with counseling, psychology, and being a counselor in training. The evidence, the research literature evidence suggests that the stronger the connection between a counselor and a client, the stronger the relationship, the better the clinical outcomes, right? The happier the person will be at the end, and the more successful their quote unquote treatment will be. So we already know in the counseling setting that if there's a strong connection between the two, then there's a chance for a curative process, or that person, the client, to be able to heal and come to terms with themselves, and then to have a connection, of course, with the client. So how I usually go about this, you know, and of course there's a difference between communicating online with somebody like on Facebook and then communicating in real life. And I think online is the first place to start, because that's where honestly I do most of my communication currently with people. And I start off by assuming that all the conversations I'm going to have with everybody are going to be authentic conversations. But it's ironic, because that's not always going to be true. There's going to be a lot of trolls and a lot of people who are just trying to, you know.
Hey, some people troll in real life, man. So like, they might not just be trolls on the internet. Some people are just literally trolls in person.
A lot of people on the internet are keyboard warriors, though. So
true. So what I usually do is I'll initially, like if a person responds to me, something I may have posted on my wall, or just in general, I will, you know, tell them I appreciate especially if it's on my Facebook, because I have a lot of people, I'll tell them I appreciate their courage for responding. No matter how they respond, they could be the ugliest and the nastiest, and this happens quite often, and I'll just respond with as much courtesy as possible. I'll use, you guys may have heard of nonviolent communication. It's pretty popular in anarchist circles right now. And it's just a recognition of our own internal states, you know, the fight or flight response.
What would your definition of nonviolent communication be?
Yeah, so nonviolent communication is just the use of communication that doesn't make assumptions about what the other person is saying, and that isn't based, or that's based in empathy. So empathy is always the central concept in all of these different forms of communication that bring about actual dialogue. That's where the other person, or both people, are, when they talk, the other person is actually listening rather than waiting to speak. And you've probably heard of that before. So that's how I go about it on Facebook as well. And I think I surprise a lot of people when I use this method, because Facebook, and you're right, Rob, in real life there's plenty of trolls and plenty of assholes, you know, to fill the world with. But on Facebook, it's a lot easier, because people can be hidden behind their profile, and this goes anywhere on the internet. So it's really easy for them to use more hostile communication with people. So I just act like I would in real life, like if I had already known the person, if I was an acquaintance or even a closer relationship. I just treat them as genuinely as possible and talk to them like an actual human being, regardless of how they're talking to me and treating me. And this surprises a lot of people, and I think it's actually created a kind of, to use the term in a different way, it actually has created kind of a safe space, I guess, for anarchists. And it's brought people who haven't really heard of the philosophy into my sphere. And so we've been able to, you know, use the logical and the rational and the economic arguments and kind of explain to them in this space that we've created, this community, what anarchism actually is, where they don't feel threatened, or they run off because somebody's being hostile and just calling them a piece of shit status. And that moves into another point I want to make. When anarchists, when we communicate, like, you know, get the fuck out of here, you status, or, you know, this is, you know, you're just talking nonsense, and we just use and we just break down their arguments using reason, and then maybe throw in a few insults. Well, what that does is activate.
Status is an insult.
Right. That's true. Well, what happens is the fight or flight response goes off neurologically, and what that means is the brain and the body is flooded with a stress hormone called cortisol. And what cortisol does in high enough levels is actually prevent people from learning. They become anxious. They think about fleeing, passing out, or being hostile back. So that is not a conducive way of being in communication with people, especially for other people trying to learn. And of course, and I know you guys are a little different, Rob, especially with what you talked about, because you're more in your guys' podcast and videos seem to be about just, living your own life, modeling, having the anarchist sort of culture and just being involved in that. Of course, there are some people who are interested in communicating these ideas, like me, more ardently with people, and training other anarchists how to communicate compassionately with other people and getting them involved with anarchism from this less threatening sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so many anarchists, like, they have so much, I don't know what's the word we're looking for, like anger. Like, they're so angry at the world that we're like, we're slaves to the state, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I was very, what's we're looking for, like years ago, like I kind of discovered what freedom really means and stuff like that. I was super passionate and like gun-ho and like, angry at the world. Like, how can this be? How can we all be slaves to the state and all that jazz? I don't know. I've chilled out a lot more. I'm more relaxed. I'm more loving, and like, I give people more time and to like warm up to people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of my I don't remember what the chemical you release is, but I feel like it comes from other people who are libertarians or are claiming to be libertarians. They have these kind of same views as me, and then when it's on a topic, when it comes to that topic where you can use nonviolent communication or like you adhere to the NAP and your principles, but then they'll jump to things like, oh, well, if you don't believe what I believe, then, it just goes like crazy. And I don't want to bring up the whole age of consent thing, but that just really showed me that a lot of these libertarians claiming to be libertarians believe in violence still.
Right.
They start talking about castration and calling the police and what they do to somebody. And I just like that for me, like makes me not even want to respond, just kind of dissociate. So, I mean, I guess in a way that this relational anarchism can be applied even to other people who might have the same views, because if we both have the same non-violent view but then we don't agree on a topic, then that shouldn't be an excuse for someone else to get violent. Well, more when we come back, we're going to talk about some psychedelic culture.
The warning signs.
First, he made me feel special. He promised he'd look after me, provide for my future. He broke every promise he made.
Millions of Americans afflicted.
I was ready to leave.
So Sterling, how much have you been getting into fitness lately?
I've been picking it up a lot more lately, to be honest with you. I was really into it a couple of years ago, but over the course of the last year, I've really not been involved in or keeping up with my fitness quite as much, so I've gained a little weight.
Well, you seem really buff in all your photos you've been putting out that you put out on the internet.
Right. I'm still in decent shape, but I'm not as good as I was about a year ago. Some of those photos are, 6 months, year old or so.
Oh, okay. But 6 months. Such a long time ago. Like my goal is to get to, I'm trying to get as slimmed down as I can for the wedding. So I'm trying to get buff. I only got a couple months left, so I'm trying to, bust my ass. The real mistress here, she's been hooping left and right, and she's getting a lot better in shape than I am. So it's like putting competition against me. So I gotta get my game going.
Right, dude. The hardest part of it's the kitchen, man. The hardest part of it's eating right.
Yeah, I know. I don't have that many vices. All right, but I do have coffee is my like vice. Like, you know, I'm drinking a Dunk's coffee. But in my defense, there is no sugar in this, and it's just cream only.
I like sugar in my coffee, unless it's like really, really good coffee, which Dunk's is not. So I just drink like 0 sugar monsters. But then I don't really eat like obsessively. So I'm pretty good. And then I just hoop all day. Just hula hoop.
That's
pretty good for the abs. Yeah. I feel like built already.
So was Cecilia, was she an anarchist when you met her? Did you convert her?
Oh yeah.
Conversion.
You converted
her.
I mean, she wasn't like hardcore status. She was just, you know, in a, I guess, a non-consideration. Didn't really, I guess, think about it as much. Or just, you know, kind of like that.
I got you. Well, that's good. That's cool. A success story.
Wait, did you meet her on Tinder?
Yeah, how'd you guys meet?
Oh, okay.
No, I picked her up at Books A Million.
You picked her up. Like, what'd you go over and say? Like, how does this work?
Oh yeah, this is pretty great actually. She had a Tucker. This isn't live, babe. She's looking at me.
Well, it's on YouTube, so like, it's just not live on LRS.
She looked at me with some crazy eyes.
Like, what are you talking about over there? It's okay, Cecilia. It's okay.
Oh man, yeah, no, she had a you know, the author Tucker Max. He likes like these fucking crude, but funny stories of his college days. Anyway, she was picking up one of those books, and I just made some commentary about it and started talking to her.
She's like, "Oh, you're cute. I like your mustache."
Actually, she's the one who convinced me to get a mustache. Back then, I didn't have one.
Oh, a free mustache ride. Huh?
I have to admit, you rock the porn stash well. There's not many men that can do it, but you pull it off well.
Appreciate it, brother. Oh goodness.
All right, yeah, we come back in like about a minute.
Surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it, but here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 641-552-5046. That's 641-552-5046.
And welcome back to the Rebel Love Show here in Manchester. We're live on LRN.FM. We're also live on IPMNation. Go check them out. They're some cool kids. And also go to rebelloveshow.com/live so you can not only watch the video feed of the show, but you can also chat with the LRN chats embedded right below that. And we got Sterling on here. And Sterling, you go into a lot of psychedelic stuff in regards to.
Are you a shaman? Do you consider yourself a shaman?
Well, actually, we have a caller right now. We got Steven calling from Flaming Freedom. Let me see if I can actually answer this.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
I don't know.
Did you hang up on Sterling?
I don't think so. I think we're on.
I think you have to pay for two.
Hey, Steven.
Hello, Robin Ann.
Hey,
Rebel Lovers.
Hey, Sterling. You there till 2? Sterling. Hey, I can't do both calls. We're live, so I'm gonna actually switch you back.
But you can come on in the second hour because we're gonna leave Sterling now.
Yeah, so call back in. Yeah, call back at 11.
Okay.
All right.
Love you, Steven. I love your face. Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Hello.
Resume call. Hello,
right, Sterling.
Sterling. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
we have to. You have to pay for like two to have two up at the same time.
I figure I can take a Skype call while I have a Skype call. It puts you on hold.
Right.
Lesson learned.
Donate
kids.
to the Rebel Love Show
yeah,
so we can get the excess Skype. Anyway, so do you consider yourself like a shaman? Like, have you guided anyone on their like trips, or do you just like what is your process? Like, what makes you a psychonaut?
Right. Well, give me a second to think about this because I'm trying to. There's so many different places I could start, but I guess. First off, I don't really consider myself a shaman, but I think there is a link between what we'd call a modern counselor or therapist and a shaman, except the psychedelic component is nixed. It's coming back hopefully with MAPS, but that's another discussion. Usually, okay, when I first got into psychedelics, my first compound that I used was not actually a psychedelic, it was MDMA. So is that okay if I discuss MDMA?
Yes, you can discuss whatever you want.
Sterling,
Yeah.
MDMA is by far my favorite drug of choice. Love that drug.
LSD is my favorite.
Yeah, I still haven't candy flipped yet, but we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
But go ahead, go talk about MDMA.
Sure. Okay. Well, when it was the first compound that I ever used. I'm going to give a little bit of backstory and kind of tell you what I did when I really got into it. I was invited over to a buddy of mine's house, and this was back in the day when it was prior to me doing anything involved with anarchism. At this point in time, I wasn't even thinking. I was just non-existent as a thinking and caring individual. And my buddy invited me over to his house, and what I did was I tried. He said, "I have something for you to do," and at that point, I didn't know what it was, and I said, "Well, what do you have?" And he said, "I have this little pill. It's MDMA." And prior to that, I had drank and I had smoked cannabis a little bit, but at that point in time, it didn't do much for me, or much that I can remember. But I was probably 24 years old, so it was a little later, I guess, in life and post adolescence. But I did MDMA. And during the experience, and this was of course, this was in a house in a private location. This wasn't at a rave or anything originally. I had this epiphany, and this epiphany was that, man, I'm way more intelligent than I believed I was prior. I can do things maybe now that I didn't know that I even wanted to do. So I got really interested at the time about philosophy, about learning, about communication, and especially about psychology, because during the experience, I had the typical ecstasy experience, the heightened tactility or sensory feelings. I had the deep sense of empathy and love and connection with the people that were with me. And it was so amazing that I went, during the come down, I did nothing but start reading. I jumped on Wikipedia and I bounced between links, and I read everything about philosophy. I read about Plato and theory of forms. And then as soon as the morning time hit, I believe this was on a Monday because I did it on a Sunday, if memory serves, I went to the library and I got a library card and I checked out a few books. I checked out one book about Einstein, and I read a book I think it was Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil. That's what it was. And it was really just a mind-blowing experience and turned me into something complete. It's what in psychology they call a quantum personality shift is what I had. I changed everything that I was doing. I got back in school, decided I wanted to get my degree in psychology because I was so fascinated with the mind. But then the other thing that happened that leads up to with what you're talking about, I thought the experience was so awesome that I wanted to get my friends involved, and maybe I can help wake more people up to their hidden potential, or allow them to see something that they haven't seen before. So in a shamanistic sense, I started trying to feed people these pills who were my friends in the hope that they would have this enlightening experience and we could have a conversation. So in a very, I guess, non-direct way, this was a kind of a shamanic path for me, because I believed a substance or a compound could help heal people, right? Or bring them to a different cognitive level of existence, alter their consciousness.
Okay, well,
and so that's how I went about it at first. So that would, in a way, make me a kind of shaman.
I never really looked at using MDMA like that way, I guess, because for me, I never felt enlightened or anything. But at the same time, I wasn't studying or researching art or anything that interests me. Because like you said, Einstein, I wouldn't be researching Einstein, just stuff that interests me, to try to find that kind of enlightenment versus I'm at a party and I want to dance all night and I feel lovey-dovey. And, that's all good and fine. But then in the morning, I didn't really feel, I just felt kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I just never got that enlightened feeling from MDMA. Definitely hyper, but, not really my cup of tea. What about you?
No, I felt somewhat enlightened from it, but I just love I feel like like taking MDMA for me is kind of really embraced like my love for humanity and my love for people and just love in general. Like I feel more loving the more I take it, and more loving of like my friends and people I consider family that are around me. I kind of like focus on that when I am on it, and I kind of feel like every time I do take some MDMA, I kind of bring that down with me. So I kind of feel like I expand my love every time I do take it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that with MDMA, but I love feeling loving. So like that's maybe that's my like addiction to. I don't want to say I have an addiction to MDMA. I definitely like I'm very responsible with it.
No, I've seen people who are addicted to MDMA.
I treat MDMA as something that is like a reward, and I save it for like crescendos in my life. I usually try not to do it more than like once a month. But I definitely save it for like special events, like events where I know where like this event is going to be where like I really want to embrace my love with people, and like I will save it for that time. But I don't use it like willy nilly every other night and pop an MDMA pill.
Popping Molly, I'm sweating. Woo!
Yeah, I think this actually calls for a discussion of the chemical and what it actually does to people, plus the different variation. Okay, you guys were talking about how you may not have gotten a sense of enlightenment or certain other experiences, psychological experiences from using it. The interesting thing about MDMA is that what you got and also what I've got in the past may not actually be MDMA. That's why they refer to these compounds as designer drugs, because the chemist can actually tweak the chemical nature of the drug and actually alter the experiential effects down to a T nearly. They've gotten that good at it. So like a long time ago in the past, I used MDA, right? And the difference between MDA and MDMA is that MDMA has more of a psychedelic feel to it. They call it like industrial strength electronic mushrooms, something of that nature. And it has the psychedelic aspects to it that are really potent, but not always do they have that particular effect. And at that point, it would be called something else, and not all the variations of the compound have those
We'll
effects.
come back with more psychedelic talk with Stirring right after the commercial breaks here on LRN.
If you're looking for work,
Yeah, breaks go fast, dude.
Not. Here's an innocent.
Yeah, they do. They come
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah. That's that. It's kind of like a curse and a blessing doing live radio. So like if you're running out of things to talk about, you can collect your thoughts during the break, but then at the same time, it's like if you're on a roll, you're on this roll, they're like, shit, the break hit. I gotta save that. I can't like blow it like during the break. I gotta save it for another 2 minutes and then come back with it. So, but it's fun because it's live.
Right. Yeah, and I like the discussion of MDMA. It's such an important compound. And sorry if I went the direction of wanting to explain the compound. I think it's important.
Oh, no, that was really good.
It's a talk show, man.
Yeah.
Talk as much as you want.
Yeah. It's about information. I really like the comparisons. I did want to know, like, I mean, I feel like we did MDMA, real MDMA the first time, and then the first couple times because it was like crystallized.
Like a couple of different sources.
Right.
And then like we got it in a pill, and I think that was like probably my last time doing MDMA. Probably my last time.
Well, that's because we had that blackout.
Yeah, but it was just like my brain just felt like fuzzy, and like they had this tested, like, and they said it was MDMA, and it was just like, why did I lose like an hour and a half of my life? Like if it's MDMA, like did I just get roofied or something?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd definitely say the first source that we had with MDMA a year ago was a lot better. Yeah. And it sucks. It should be legal, and you
gotta save this when we come back.
You don't have to worry about that. It's like every source is different, and it's like
you have to go like trust these like people who may or may not be shady because you don't know, but
black market.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That'll be a good discussion when we come back.
Yeah, definitely. So actually, you can only stay on an hour. Like we've covered like 2 bullet points.
I got an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
got an hour and a half for sure.
All right, cool.
Could what have happened if who wasn't here?
Yeah, and we can also here in a minute talk about MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. They're actually getting ready to roll out a program where they're going to try to make clinical use of MDMA legal again.
Oh, really?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Okay, I've heard we have a study here that we were going to play the video of
Sure.
on LSD in the brain, because they were able to do the CAT scan in Switzerland, I believe it was.
Right.
And so I found that like very interesting. And I love LSD. Like, oh my God.
It's great.
It's great.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of LSD, but I really like.
Does it like?
I like MDMA better.
Why? Because you get scared on LSD?
I don't get scared on LSD.
Oh, then what is it?
I love feeling loving more than I love
feeling
like no. I love expanding my brain. I'm not saying I don't like LSD.
You're
you know,
not saying
I do like it,
but you're not explaining yourself.
I love the feeling of feeling loving.
Okay, but
like, I love
that doesn't
more
explain
than the feeling on LSD of like I love expanding my mind and thinking outside the box and like
You've already said that. What else are you going to say?
Well, that's my opinion. I don't know what else you want me to say. I said it and you asked me again, so I'm saying it again.
No, you never finished this subject. Only thing you said was I like feeling loving and I like LSD. Don't get me wrong. I like to expand my mind and whatnot.
Yeah, I like expanding my mind and like focusing on like who I am as a human being and what I am in the universe and all that jazz. And I feel like I can do that with LSD. It gives me. There's been multiple times, especially on our hiking trips, where like I can focus on like my purpose in life and stuff, and I love that. But I just like MDMA better. I like that as a better drug. If I had to choose between one of them, I'm going to pick the MDMA.
I agree, Will.
And welcome back to the Rebel Love Show. We're just talking about some psychedelic experiences. Right now we're talking about MDMA. And Sterling was kind of giving us an example of how, some things may not be like exactly what we expect it is. For instance, we may be buying thinking we're buying MDMA, but we're really just buying some variation of it. And I mean, I just feel like that leads into the whole drug war being a farce. Like, I should be able to pick up my MDMA at any convenience store.
I want it delivered with fucking drones to my home from Amazon. That's how I want my MDMA delivered.
Yeah, that way you can know what it is and, be confident. Like, not that, I think the people giving us MDMA have been shady or anything.
No,
it's just like hard to kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just hard to get like a pure source, or maybe it's just easier to make these designer drugs.
In all honesty, like
know.
it's hard enough just find a quality source for pot.
Yeah.
Like it's hard enough just trying someone that like can deliver great strands of pot on a regular basis, well alone trying to find someone that can deliver, pure or great high-end MDMA on a regular basis. Like it's just hard to find someone that you can literally like message on, via encryption. Like, hey, you got some? Yes, no. You take Bitcoin? I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard.
No.
It should be so easy, except for unless you use like the Silk Road or something like that. Yeah, but
even then, I feel like the last stuff we got may or may not have been from there. But I didn't really appreciate it. I didn't really care for it that much.
It's not as good, but I still enjoy it. I still love it.
Right.
If you don't want to use the rest of our stores, I'll gladly use the rest of it. That's cool with me.
No, you guys bring up an excellent point, and this is just a natural consequence of having a war on drugs, because once a government claims that people can't put into their body what they want to put into their own body, and they make these compounds illegal, it creates a very ripe and a very burgeoning black market. And there's a lot of unsavory characters who deal on the black market. Even if you have buddies or close friends that you can procure your stuff from, there are still going to be that chance that they may have gotten something that's less than pure. And again, with these designer drugs, there's a lot of different things they can do with them. There's a lot of stuff that they can cut with them, and different types of what the chemists call binders that they can put in. And some of the paranoia about people getting stuff that will kill you may be true, at least something that could potentially hurt you. But the sad thing is when you have a drug war going on, that the state is going to use, and when I say state, I'm talking about politicians, bureaucrats, educators, etc. They're going to use these incidents to propagandize against MDMA as this horrible drug that kills people because one person got an adulterated product from the black market, and now they're in the emergency room as a result of this. Luckily, most people who do purchase something off the black market, if they do get it from an unsavory character, most likely it's just going to do nothing to them. It's just probably, some kind of detergent or something in the pill that doesn't really affect them at those levels. But that is definitely something to look out for. And when the day comes that the drug war is completely abolished, which we can only hope could happen in our lifetime, I doubt it. But if it does, then people will actively be able to procure quality products where they don't have to risk death or they don't have to risk wasting their money on a bad product.
Yeah.
And then people don't have to, feel shameful about their use of this stuff. And I agree with you guys. We should be able to go to the convenience store, pick it up on the side counter.
Yeah, I think the actual problem is not so much like maybe it killed someone, which I mean, I haven't like read up on my studies of like murder and MDMA or LSD or anything like that. It's like slim to none.
Right.
I have read up on the counterculture that things like LSD had created, or maybe still creating, but more so in the 60s had created. And, it was this whole movement of people who wanted peace and started like looking at this system and seeing what was wrong with it because of these, psychedelic experiences they were having. And, these were the people, the flower children out there protesting the Vietnam War. And I could see like why the government didn't want that, because if you want to like contribute it to like, people were dying, which, isn't true. What was actually happening was this counterculture of rebels, people rebelling against the system. So I think that more so is why we have the drug war and why it won't end unless you think, you can change it from inside the system or something crazy like that. But, I don't personally believe that. I think it's all about control.
Right. Yeah, no, you absolutely nailed it. That's what it's all about. And to back up what you said, there's a really good book on this subject. If anybody wants to look into it, it's called LSD and the American Dream by Jay Stevens. And he goes through how LSD specifically was passed around in the 60s. He talks about all the luminaries like Aldous Huxley who used it regularly, especially Timothy Leary, all those different guys, and all the psychologists who got involved with using
Harvard
LSD
professors and I mean,
Right.
that's why I feel like I like it maybe more so than MDMA, because I actually like feel enlightened. Like I feel lovey and I feel like hyper on Molly, but there's only so much of that. I guess that I have, and maybe like I'm taking too much because I'm a small person or something like that. But
You always take too much.
Yeah.
You always take more than I do, and I'm like twice your size.
Not with Molly. I don't.
A little bit sometimes.
We take like the same amount. Anyway.
Usually.
Anyway, I mean, I can handle my drugs very well.
I'm not saying you can't handle it. I'm just saying that's.
But anyway, so like I really kind of felt like this enlightenment that you were talking about with MDMA. I really felt this kind of enlightenment with LSD. And it wasn't just like my purpose on this earth. It was just that, it was like everything was alive inside of me. And I've started to like really start focusing on my spirit more so than, my being, just like here, or, how I react towards one another or something like that. It's more so than myself. It's like my spirit on this earth, and like how can I improve upon that? Like what does this all mean? Like how do I find happiness and spread that happiness to others? And it took a few times, but I felt like the first time like I heavily tried LSD, like it is scary. Like it has this scary aspect to it of like, you kind of find this ego death. Like, oh my God, like, am I ever going to come out of this? And if I don't, then what happens? Like, is it all at the center of like this chaos? But then I kind of found like balance in that, and I in a way that I haven't really felt with anything else. And on top of that, like it's like Alice in Wonderland. Like the trees come alive, and then they start waving, and they're beautiful, and then like the earth sings this magical song, and I don't know, I love it. I feel like I'm in a different world, a different land, and I feel like I'm getting more in touch with my spirit, more so than just focusing on who I am in the physical.
Right. And one of the beautiful things about LSD is, first of all, the fact that you can take it at a very low dose. It's available in micrograms, and then it lasts hours. Most of it will last. Your
8
trip
hours.
will last 8 to 12
You
hours.
gotta plan out your LSD trips. You just can't like willy-nilly
You can't
it.
just pop one
Yeah.
arbitrarily. But the Rebel Mistress is right. As soon as you take LSD, and we've seen that now, we've seen the neuroimaging studies, it completely connects disparate or previously unconnected brain hemispheres and parts of the brain. And that really goes to show how much it literally opens up the mind and allows you to examine your life, allows you to examine what your purpose is in the universe. You have these deep emotional experiences. Go ahead.
What has been your most eye-opening experience?
Wait,
on LSD?
before you say that, I just wanted to go back to the study that you were talking about, LSD's impact on the brain. And one keyword or key sentence I found in some of these articles was that it takes your mind back to the state it was before you were I don't know the wording, but before you were affected by everything that comes with adulthood in the world, like before you were biased by the world. It takes your brain back to the state it was when you were a toddler, a child, because your brain was having all this activity, and that's kind of like beat out of you at public school or maybe your parents or whatever. And I found that very interesting because to think children are having this mindgasm experience that we're kind of just taking small doses of on LSD. And what if it were legal? What if it could help with things like mental disorders? Well, more when we come back.
Yeah, answer that when we come back here on LRN.
Hi, I'm Derek.
Well, if I could describe an MDMA trip in a sentence, I'd say it's I get why they call it a trip, because it's like this circle and it comes in waves, and you start at the top and then there's a wave, and then
LSD.
I'm sorry, LSD, and then there's a wave, and you kind of experience all this stuff, and then there's another wave, and it kind of plays it back to you in reverse, and it's kind of just crazy. And the more I take it around other people who are on it, it's like we're all in this world together, and it makes it stronger because you can pick up on those people's energies and their vibes, and it kind of makes you feel connected and with each other in a way that humanity hasn't been connected in a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about that too when we come back on, because that actually, you see the philosophy of relationalism that I'm putting forward is essentially the psychedelic variation of that, except put into philosophy form in order to also push for anarchism. That's where sort of a good inspiration for that philosophy is the psychedelic experience and the MDMA experience, because of the empathy and the ability to connect with other people.
Are you religious at all?
I am atheist. I don't really consider myself religious, maybe a little spiritual, if you will.
Okay.
But
I would definitely consider myself spiritual. I don't practice any religion or anything like that, but I definitely feel like as if there's more to life than just my consciousness. You know what I'm saying? What is that new puppy? Oh my God!
Yeah, this is our Chihuahua Molly.
See, they're doing that right. They got a large dog and they got a tiny dog. If we get another dog, I don't want a Chihuahua, but I want a pug.
No pug. French bulldog.
Okay, maybe a French bulldog.
You see me live in there?
You can hold him up to the camera. I got you on camera.
Oh my God!
What's his name?
Let's hold Riker up to the camera.
Oh, I forgot Riker's even in here. Oh my God! I thought you put him in this crate. Yeah, where do you take on crates?
Nice.
There we go.
The dog show. The Rebel Dog Show.
He's actually been doing really good. Usually he's a horrible studio dog. Normally he's like all over the place, and he's like knocking computers and pulling cables out. What?
I'm not picking Bronson up.
You kicked Ash out? Ash is such a better studio animal than Riker. I know because you kicked her out.
Yeah, well, we can chat about her in a minute. She was talking about this going back to childhood, this magical regression where you re-experience what it's like.
Yeah, it's like the universe is new again.
Yeah, what's really interesting about that, I've even heard that you venture as far back as being in
I don't
the
know,
womb
but
still.
hula hooping on LSD is like great because it's like
what isn't great on LSD?
well, the hula hooping is the best because like it's really you can like see what MDMA is. I mean, what LSD is doing to you, and like you can kind of get on the cycle with it, and it becomes kind of less scary. And also, I believe like you're not hallucinating on LSD. You're seeing everything that's real, that's already there. Such as like I can see the flower of life in everything, in the trees, in the grass, like in music. It kind of plays differently on LSD. Like it reveals things. But the reason I asked you about religion is because like a lot of people say that they've seen the devil on LSD or.
Yeah, I think what that is probably an unconscious or a subconscious projection. I think that's part of the experience.
I think it's the good and evil in us all.
Right, absolutely. And then, of course, there's the strange occurrences that people believe that they see entities. You know, Terrence McKenna talked about that a lot, seeing like little elves and other geometrical patterns that seem like they're alive, right? Which is very weird.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's levels to it, and you just kind of have to like grab onto it and kind of just go with the ride.
Right.
But yeah, hula hooping on LSD was like one of the best experiences ever. And I was also at a drum circle. So it was just all around bizarre.
Right. Yeah, I used to have a friend. Well, she's still a friend, but I haven't talked to her in person in a long time. I still communicate with her, but she was really into paganism and witchcraft.
Yeah.
And the psychedelic experience. And, you know, witchcraft is based in the use of herbalism. And those were often psychedelic compounds. And
yeah, but it's like I saw that we were all on the same rhythm. Like we're all on the same rhythm. And it was like played to me through a drum. Like I can put my hand on the drum and my friend put her hand on the drum. And it's like we had the same rhythm. Like we were doing the same like dance. And even for people who weren't on, you know, LSD, it really goes into like putting positive energy into like everyone that you come across because they could feel my energy. She wasn't even tripping. Like I was tripping and she felt my energy. And she was like, I feel like I'm tripping. Like I haven't even taken anything. And I just felt like that was the coolest thing ever because we are harmonic. We are all on the same level. We are like united in this like unity. And I feel like that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
we're not live yet, are we?
No, we got another 2 minutes. This is the long break. So if you,
I'm gonna run to take a piss real quick.
Yeah, that's what I just did. Go forth.
Jesus, cat.
Can you close that door, baby?
Can she not walk in and out of the goddamn room?
Ash is the producer of this show. She can do whatever she wants. Jesus, you really hate that cat. You hate that cat. Just say it.
She's a bitch.
She's not a bitch. You're a bitch to her. She's never wronged you. Babe. Yeah, stop violating her nap.
She doesn't have a nap. She's a cat.
She naps all the time.
Yeah.
She's always sleeping. Oh, Steven's calling. I want to message him. Like, I'll call him. Like, we still got Sterling on.
All required elements of the crimes charged. Therefore, the verdict for each count is not
Yeah, me and Sterling were talking about the devil on LSD.
Do you want to bring it back?
Baltimore was calm after the verdict, with only a
Yeah.
handful of
Did you ever
protesters.
see the devil on LSD?
This has been
No, I had a bad trip a little bit last time. That one time I was peeing in the bathroom. They got scary.
The Surgeon General warns.
Yeah, I feel like you have to experience ego death.
Taylor Swift is now dating the Watertown boat.
And also, it's just like the song that it plays is so magical. Like, I can't believe you can't hear it. It's just like, it kind of like the wind blows and the trees make, like, they contribute to the rhythm.
Oh, I can add to the group call. I can do that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I can hear you.
Uh-oh, it has a...
I know, it has a little...
Yeah.
Hey, Ann. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Sterling, can we hear you?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, cool. We can have both. All right, Steven, what did you want to talk about? Because you got Sterling on.
I was really enjoying the call from Sterling.
Okay.
That was great.
All right. Well, if you have do you have a question for him?
I had a comment that probably would be a discussion.
All right, we're going to bring it back. We're going to outline right now. And welcome back to the Rebel Love Show. We've been talking to Sterling here about his psychedelic journey through philosophy. And we got Steven here calling from the Flaming Freedom all the way out on the seacoast. How's it going, Steven?
Hey, Sterling.
Hey, Steven. How's it going, man?
It's wonderful. I'm really enjoying the call tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah, what you said about compassionate engagement with people has helped me think how to deal with someone in my life who recently got really angry at some open carry that I was doing. I was carrying a gun in a grocery store, and she was really angry, and it kind of made me angry. And I wanted to respond with meanness, and but thinking compassionately, like I want to tell her now, I appreciate you having the courage to say what you think and what you believe. She was very anti-gun, and that's really great. I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. So you were able to use some of those techniques or some of those ideas when you spoke with her?
Yeah. And now instead of saying something mean and angry, I'm going to say, you know, we're all working toward a world that's safer and more prosperous. Like, I think having a gun is working toward that. She thinks it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the information she has to offer.
Cool.
Too often people, like, you know, you get into you respond in a negative way. If someone's attacking you on your position on something, you know, your first instinct really is to like attack back or defend it in like a like, again, like almost like a violent way. And it's really hard for everyone to you know, be at peace with no matter who's coming at you with a disagreement, and still be peaceful and, you know, relate to them in a way in which like doesn't come across as confrontational.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard though, but I mean, I do think it's good now that I have this like rational anarchism in the back of my head of how to respond to people. Like, I'll probably do a better job in the future.
And also, you talked about responding to emotions instead of with pure logic.
Right.
And it's something that I've been trying to work on, but usually I first go to the emotion of trying to intimidate or fear in my head. And I always have to take a step back and then find how to emotionally connect with them on a better way. Like finding common ground.
Cool.
Right. One of the things about this that's really interesting, that I think we need to use more of that will help expedite that process, is this idea of emotional intelligence. It's not a popular concept in our society because a lot of people tend to put more emphasis and importance on IQ and normal cognitive intelligence. But this idea of responding compassionately and actually prompting a dialogue with people is hinged on this idea of emotional intelligence. And it is what allows us to connect with people and then have them understand our position as much as we understand theirs. And that, I think, is where that's where we need to shoot for, as far as getting people involved with our ideas, and also allowing them to have a felt sense of the love that we're trying to share.
I have a question for both you guys. So I don't know about how you guys have noticed like the liberty community in general, but would you say that the liberty community and anarchists in general need more love?
I think that we can sum that up maybe with one word, and that word is Cantwell. Okay, so, and the reason that I say that is, you guys remember the little piece that Jeffrey Tucker wrote on libertarian brutalism?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So Tucker's whole idea there was that because of the way that the philosophy of anarchism has been arranged, that is, with the logical, economic, and moral vectors in mind, and that harm can only be done, in the sense of the non-aggression principle, that it has to be physical. Well, this has given some people the idea that they can treat others as shitty as they want to. And this is where this idea of brutalism comes in, and people want to just break down others. There's no regard whatsoever of emotion, which is fine from a moral and logical argumentation standpoint, but that is no way to make a connection with another people. So in that sphere, I would say definitely yes, more love is needed in order to have more connections with people and in order to grow anarchist communities.
Yeah, you're not gonna win people over being a fucking asshole.
No.
Rob, you mentioned earlier that as long as someone has love in their heart, you want to bring them in and embrace them. Well, and yeah, I totally agree with that, and that there should be more love all around. I think each person has the capacity to love a lot more than we generally express. But at the same time, I think that if you have a goal in mind, such as, say, liberty in our lifetimes, it's important to discriminate about who you actually put energy into, because some people are going to be like 10 or 100 times more effective. So while you can love everyone who has love in their heart, I think it's important to discriminate, and maybe just, instead of being angry with other groups of libertarians, specialize in a smaller group and spend more time spreading love in smaller groups that are more dynamic.
I definitely agree. That's why I always say individual liberation, and then just kind of pass that on with, your behaviors, because I definitely feel like, I don't want to associate with certain people. Like, I'm sorry, but like, just for my own sanity and my own happiness, like I don't want the kind of negativity. Like, I didn't move here for it. I moved here to kind of find peace and like love and acceptance and spread the same thing. And if people don't have any of that to offer, like, that doesn't necessarily mean I have to be mean or like vindictive towards them. I just, don't really associate with them, and I don't offer them my friendship. And then, anyone else who wants to kind of associate with me, then I still try to spread that kind of happiness and,
Well, I have heard a lot of vindictive talk among different groups. And I think it would be best if they just didn't talk about each other at all, or promoted each other. But yeah, I think more love, less vindictive behavior is good.
Yeah,
because you guys are right. What does that accomplish in the long term? Obviously, they're not even in a state of mind in neither group where there can be a fruitful discussion, where they're going to come to some type of terms or some type of synthesis of ideas. So there's definitely got to be more love, more compassion. People need to actually listen to the other folks. And I know, especially with the kind of guys you folks are talking about, there is already these knee-jerk reactions. There's a lot of anger. There's trolling. There's shit posting. There's even nastiness in the meat realm. So that's all got to change for sure.
Yeah, be kind to one another.
Yeah,
Simple.
too often, too many people are like, just because we may be right on liberty doesn't mean like so many people that I'm not exactly, like the gold child here, like, saying walking the walk 100% of the time. I'm sure I haven't. None of us probably have. But, at the end of the day, you can't be so vindictive and go after people just because you disagree with them.
Yeah.
Even status, like you gotta show like positivity toward your positions, not negativity. Like, don't get me wrong, all of us, we all don't like status, and we say the word status, and it is a derogatory term when we use it, but at the same time, like, we're not going to win them over doing that. We're not going to win them over. Like we're at that point now where we talk about those things with each other. We have our own lingo, our own conversation, our own jargon. But we can't just like assume that everyone's there and that they get it 100%. We can't like immediately flip the switch and be like all, distant to them. But at the same time, when you're talking about like other people, like-minded people and stuff, I'm all in the favor of like disassociation. Like I'm not going to talk bad about someone. I don't want to talk shit about people. I hate talking about them or anything else that. I'm just going to keep living my life and get people that are not loving. I want to move to people that are loving.
I feel like the answer to all of this and everything else is LSD because we're expanding our consciousness, and I've never really felt like a unity or balance or like a connection with my fellow human while still like focusing on my own consciousness than I have on LSD. Thank you, Steven, for calling in. Love
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks, Steven.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage.
All right, Sterling. I'm going to see if I can get the video back working for you. Like when we took the call from Steven here, lost the video feed.
35 cents per ounce.
Oh, camera's out. There we go. Hold on.
Some people need to come online or update Skype before they can join this call.
This is an excellent opportunity to buy on the dip. To find out more, give us a call at 800-874.
It's not giving me an option for video now.
Yeah, it's weird.
Sterling, do you watch any like spirit science or anything?
Not really. I'm more focused on the scientific and neurological aspects of psychology and counseling. That's where my shtick is.
Okay.
But I'm not unfamiliar with some of that stuff. Like I've kept up with I've read a lot of Terrence McKenna's books, if that's in kind of in the vein you're talking about.
Yeah. Is that the Psychedelic Experience? Is that his book?
Right. Yeah.
I have.
Talks a lot about the psychedelic experience, shamanism.
Babe, I need to have you watch The Spirit Molecule.
Okay.
That's what.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You'll
learn a lot about Terrence McKenna.
Yeah. I just feel like watching spirit science and stuff, it kind of helped me put together a lot of things like that I didn't really know what it was. Like, for instance, the first time I did LSD, I started seeing like the flower of life everywhere, but I didn't really know what it was or understand it. And then it like just made me want to do more research about like our consciousness and our existence and like our actual spirit. And not just this world, but like our unconscious mind, like how far can it take us? Like, can we evolve through this? Like we talk about the singularity, but I think it may be all interconnected because it all involves like our spirit, like evolving. And whether that's through technology or psychedelics, like I feel like we all do it together though. And it's kind of hindering our evolution that these drugs are illegal. Because maybe we would have evolved already.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement. It's this control freak mentality. You mentioned it earlier in the 60s that what happened was politicians and bureaucrats, sociopaths, and control freaks completely lost their mind because they were fearful that people were waking up. They were having their consciousness expanded to the point of wanting to really experience freedom, and that this idea that authoritarian control is a concept that's invalid and antiquated. So they wanted to try to move beyond that.
Yeah, because like if you're doing LSD, you're not like, oh, my ruler, like, oh, who's gonna be the president? Like, no, you're like, fuck, who's a Bernie? Who's a Hillary? Who's a Donald? Like, there's people here who want to control me. Like, obviously, we are the gods and goddesses of our own existence.
Right.
But yeah, I wish we could go back to the 60s. I wish it could be like that again.
I feel like we're kind of in that movement again. I really feel like it's like a new age of 60s and self-discovery and
to a point, but it's still hindered, like I said. And like everyone says, like if the singularity were to happen today, like that would be vastly scary because the government would have that technology before us, and it's all about control for them. And if we're trying to evolve, Oh, we should be talking about this when we come back.
Yeah, no. Don't be going your load during the break.
Well, I just
Yeah,
want to
too
talk to
often.
Sterling.
Hey guys,
I don't get to
I
talk
probably
about this.
have about 10, 15 minutes.
All right, so
Okay.
let's do this last segment. If that's cool with you. It ends at 11:29, and we're coming
That'll
back.
work.
And we're coming back in like 30 seconds. Okay.
I wonder why we don't have video. That kind of
I don't
stuff.
know because the call came in, so it's no worries. Like
Well, yeah.
we'll roll with the punches.
Talk it out, right?
Yeah.
On the air in your area. Visit
All right, come back in a second.
LRN.FM to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
And welcome back here to the Rebel Love Show. And we've been going down the whole psychonaut journey here with Sterling. And we were talking about LSD and how the Royal Mistress here, it's her favorite drug of choice and how she can self-discover herself. And Sterling, I want to know, like, what's been your... how long have you been going down this psychonaut journey with LSD? Like, how often have you
And
used
what's
it?
been your experience?
Yeah, what's been your experience with it?
So my first experience with LSD was after MDMA. It was, that, like I mentioned, that was the first, quasi psychedelic compound that I used. And then a couple of years later, I tried LSD. But my best experience on LSD, and it's not a compound that I've used a whole lot, because I'm more of a mushrooms kind of guy.
I can't do them.
What's that?
I can't do mushrooms. I've never had a great trip on mushrooms, and I've thrown up before, and it's not my drug. It's not my drug.
Right.
I want it to be. I want it to be natural. I don't like using LSD because and don't get me wrong, science rocks, but I always want to go as natural as I always can. And
I mean, everything's from the earth. Everything's plant-based.
Yeah, but it's still synthetic. That it's actually like manufactured. It's not like grown out of the the ground.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
Anyways, continue.
Right. No. So I can remember clearly one experience on LSD, but it was a LSD plus MDMA trip. So is that a candy flip, I believe?
Candy flipping is
candy flip.
Candy flipping is LSD and mushroom. No, LSD and MDMA. Yeah.
So I remember when I did this, it was a really mind-opening experience in the sense that I felt like I was in a time warp of just pure bliss with intermittent periods of absolute terror.
Yeah.
So, and it was it's really hard to remember all the details because when you're on those two compounds like that, it really does distort your memory and your sense of time completely. So, and during this time period, I remember traveling. I remember actually going to Walmart on this trip, which was probably not the best idea, especially if we're concerned with set or setting.
Yeah.
But I remember
that's a horrible decision.
I know that was so bad. But I remember not or vaguely remembering the trip because I was in my own headspace. So the set luckily didn't affect it. The setting didn't really affect it too much because of the MDMA negated a little bit of the fear with the happiness and the empathy effects.
Yeah.
But I really remember just looking at all the geometric patterns. I remember being seemingly warped to other worlds and just experiencing like being bathed in pure love by these, you have the entity experience when you're on these compounds like that. And you can't really make sense. It's like you're speaking to something that would be a mechanical alien or some type of otherworldly being. But I don't know if that is actually what's happening or if that's some type of projection, something my mind's telling myself. But it was definitely a challenging experience, and that's the one that I remember out of vagueness. Of course, that was 5 years ago, so it's barely a wisp of a memory.
I would not recommend just like as my times trip. Like I feel like the place to trip is outdoors in nature.
Absolutely.
And you like either hiking because you're going on a journey.
I can't
definitely recommend a drum circle.
I can't even hike if I'm not doing LSD anymore. Like it's just not the same.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I felt like for me, it's because like what LSD does is like it kind of reveals what I can't see in plain daylight. Even though now, like that I've heard the song is like, I expect that. Like, even if I don't hear it, like, I kind of hear it. Like, I can hear it, like, sing, like, the song through the wind and the trees, like, as they grow. But, I mean, I'm kind of a hippie anyway. So, I don't know if it's like that for everyone. But I know, especially for me, it's like, I only want to be in nature. I only want to hear the trees sing and the wind blow. And that's all I really need.
Right. And I'm kind of a in the house alone by myself or with very few people in an intimate environment kind of guy. Like some of my experiences on mushrooms have been easily the most powerful. Psilocybin has been, a common buddy of mine for a long time. And I remember one of my experiences after taking about 4 grams of mushrooms, just feeling like I was I was laying on the couch and I was listening to the Beatles at the time. And the Beatles are like the perfect band to listen to.
Yes, they are. And Grateful Dead.
Oh yeah. The 60s psychedelic rock bands are the best. But I just remember feeling like I just visited different places, both in my psyche. I also feel like I might at some point went back into this womb state where I was in this vast ocean of just peace and love. And I kept telling myself, there's these Zen koans or these Zen sayings or ideas, these mantras. And I just kept repeating to myself, this is it, this is it, this is it, over and over again. Like, it just something about the essence of humanness is to be found in the psychedelic experience.
Definitely. Definitely.
What? No, I hear you on that. I'm jealous about like your ability to take shrooms.
Oh, do you? That was my question. Do you just like consume them, or do you mix them in like juice or something, or like what?
Yeah, I've done mushrooms the most. I've tried them all kinds of different ways.
Okay. Yeah.
In the let's see. Usually I've just eaten them as they are. Just take them straight.
They're just so gross.
Sometimes I'll vomit after like an hour or two into it, but after that, I'm good to go.
See, no, I don't want to vomit.
Yeah, it's possible, but I'm really sensitive to these chemicals. I tend to vomit on even on MDMA. Within the first hour, I'll vomit. I have just I don't know if it has to do with my tolerance or just my general sensitivity and character.
Sorry, before you go, I just wanted to know, like, do you think that LSD or mushrooms or any of these psychedelic possibilities from these drugs, should they be limited? Should there be like an age limit? Should there be like a user's manual? Like, do you think that they'll ever be like legalized again? Will the world end? What do you think?
Right. Well, one thing, my personal belief is that they should all just be totally legalized, and if they are restricted, they could only be restricted via the operations of the free market. But I think more important than that right now, looking at where exactly we are in reality, MAPS, or the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, has actually started and of course they have to pander to government to get what they want, but they're in the process of trying to get clinical MDMA use legalized again. And they've been using psilocybin and LSD for different types of studies. I think they've done it on, they've used psilocybin on people
schizophrenic
who can't have cancer, actually. So it's been fear of death, their impending doom, and trying to reconcile that. And they've also used LSD. I think they might have used LSD with PTSD, just like they've done MDMA. Yeah. I can't remember the exact studies with LSD, but really going to open up the ball.
More Psychedelic Anarchy when you come back.
Nice to have you, Sterling. Well, Sterling.
All right, Sterling, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, we're still live on YouTube. One, I want to plug everywhere people can find you at before we let you go.
Sure. So you guys can find me on psychologic-anarchist.com. That's the main website where I produce all of my content. And then on Facebook, psychologic-anarchist, and Sterling Lujan on Facebook as well. And I also on Tumblr and on Instagram have rebel-anarchist. And I also contribute to The Art of Not Being Governed, which is notbeinggoverned.com, and The Art of Not Being Governed.
Awesome.
That should wrap it up.
Oh, also, hey, by the way, you and Cecilia are more than invited to our wedding at
Definitely.
Rogers Campground and New Hampshire Hempfest and Freedom Rally coming up on August 25th through 28th. But
We'd love to see you there.
So if you want a reason to come back to Rogers and come see us, come up in August.
Awesome. We will definitely talk about that. Oh, I also want to mention that anybody that wants to see can catch me at Anarchapulco and Acapulco in February. I will be speaking.
Cool,
Sweet, beautiful, man. All right, it was a pleasure.
Bye.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Peace.
Maybe we should go to Anarchapulco
Anarchapulco.
since we're not going to go to Liberty Forum.
That's true. We are boycotting the Free State Project. Let's go. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of
What?
Jeff Berwick.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
He's the guy who runs Anarchapulco.
What do you not like about him?
He did a lot of shady stuff with Gulch Gulch down in Chile, where it was a real estate scam, and he's kind of scammed a lot of people out of like millions of dollars in passport stuff.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on with him. And also,
I've never heard any of this.
You don't really pay attention to a lot of Liberty circles like I do, babe.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I know a lot of people who go to Anarchapulco. Like, and I've never heard.
No,
like,
I still
this.
want to go. Don't
Yeah,
get me
I've
wrong.
never
I
heard
still
like
wanna
this
go.
negativity. This one.
Yeah, I don't know. I do. I wouldn't mind going to Mexico in February.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Anywho, so I'll bring it back with the link to Anarchy and Psychedelics.
Stop doing it.
Yeah, I can actually play that while we're
Yeah, you can.
while we're talking.
Can you play that when we bring it back instead?
Yeah.
Start
Hold on.
with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com.
So then when we bring it back, you can play the video, and then we can talk about the
Did you
link
know you
to.
can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channel?
Which one were you talking
We
about?
have
The
channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa.
Down.
The first one?
All you need
Yeah,
is
the
an
first one.
affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at
I'll get it queued up.
sat.lrn.fm.
So that way I'll
Plus,
play it
if you
during
are
the
a
show.
broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good
Does it
delivery
wind
method for our
up?
content. See our coverage maps.
Oh, I
and get
knew they
details
did.
at sat.lrn.fm.
HBO says it accidentally linked Game of Thrones episode. Like when I went to go cast it live, it was already showing as like on demand. I was like, well, that can't be right.
Success secrets revealed.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Be seen as an industry leader.
Why is this
You can do
like?
it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You
Yeah,
didn't
get
get
that
the
up.
approval you seek.
There you
There's a better
go.
way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems, the right way, the first time, so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
And welcome back to the Rebel Love Show. So we were gonna play a quick video here about LSD and why does it make you feel one with the universe. Very interesting study done in Switzerland. They were able to do a CAT scan of the brain, and for the one of the first times ever, and show what the brain is actually like on LSD, and the results were amazing. Sterling was talking about a little when he was talking about it can help people with PTSD and things with like past things that you may be like suppressing. It just has tons of possibilities. So we're gonna show you this video.
Well, we can talk while we're doing this, babe, because I don't think there's any audio to it.
There is.
Is there?
Yeah. There. Oh well.
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
I was like,
Yeah, but it's not good for radio because it's just music. There's no like actual talking audio.
oh,
to it.
okay. So basically, I'll just describe the video. Then it basically shows you the brain while you're tripping and you're not tripping. And the study was done by the Imperial College of London. They scanned the brain of healthy volunteers. You don't have to turn the music down all the way. Once after receiving a placebo, and once after receiving 75 mcg of LSD, which is like a lot because Jesus, and the brain trippers. So it kind of just shows like the two sections in the brain segregated regions. They begin to speak to one another. So it's like, imagine if you took a pill that made you be able to use your whole brain. This is what LSD doing, as if the drug reversed the restricted thinking. This is the word I was looking for. Restricted thinking that you had when you were a child, that you developed between infancy and adulthood, because your mind was more open back then. David Nutt, the former government drug advisor, says that this is to neuroscience what Higgs boson was to particle physicals, because we now see the underlying potential of LSD, not just to treat mental health disorders, such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, but to deepen our understanding of consciousness itself, which is pretty big. So with LSD microdosing already popular, we all do it. Come on, we know. In places like Silicon Valley, it says, but I feel like it's going on everywhere. Perhaps acid is no longer a drug of the hippie past, but rather one of the science and tech future. And that's pretty much.
They're showing a guy wearing a VR headset. I can only imagine using a VR headset on acid. That would be trippy as balls.
Probably not.
Why would you say that?
Because I feel like that LSD and tech go together. Like, I feel like they're part of the same evolution. But I've expressed to you my dismay with the VR headset already. I just feel like
you really haven't experienced a VR headset. You've used Google Cardboard. That's like,
I put on the one in your store.
Did you try it out?
Yeah, I put on the one in your store. I didn't like that your phone was in there, and also, like I said, with LSD,
that's
I don't.
Low end VR headset.
Yeah,
like, you
it was low end.
Like like a high end Oculus Rift or like the HTC Rime. I forgot the name of the HTC virtual reality.
Well, I don't see any patterns when I'm on LSD and I look at my phone. Like I just see like my phone.
Oh my God. Every time I look at my phone, like I'll look at the pictures I've taken throughout the day, and like they come alive, and like they seem so much brighter. And I can see.
Yeah,
I feel like I can see like the life of like I'm just like capturing like an image. I'm capturing like the moment, the feelings, the emotions.
But I'd rather live the moment and feel the emotions than look at a picture of them.
I get that, but I'm saying what I see in a phone compared to what, like, if I'm looking at any picture, like I see that I can see what I'm capturing, what I'm seeing.
Like one thing I see when I like look at a picture or something, like if a tree or something is in the background, like I still kind of see the essence of that tree and kind of the energy of it. Like I kind of get that, but then I kind of feel like you're supposed to be here and you're supposed to be conscious. And I mean, I'm not like knocking like tech or like the VR headset, but I mean, to a certain extent, I think once we kind of experience like an ego death and we like remove ourselves from like this tech and we kind of just focus on ourselves and what's within and the nature around us and not so much on like our phones, then we begin to see like different things that the universe like has to offer. And I feel like it's kind of distracted. Like we kind of get distracted by like what's on our phones, and because then we're not focusing on ourselves or our true consciousness. We're just focusing like on our phones.
I agree with you in that. I'm just simply saying being in a complete VR environment where your hearing is only through the VR experience, your sight's only through the VR experience, you move your hands only in a VR experience, you know, that on LSD where you're already going on a trip, that's trippy. That to me, you're in a whole different environment. Like being on a trip, you're already expanding your mind where you're seeing things that you don't see. Like taking yourself out of your reality and putting yourself in a different reality.
Yeah, but I feel like you're already doing
conscious. Like that's like adding a trip to a trip.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I feel like you're already in a new reality. You're already in that new reality when you're on LSD,
So
because
if you
you're
take that, you put
experiencing
yourself
this
into
reality
another
differently.
reality.
But you're not in another reality. You're in a virtual reality.
Virtual reality is another reality. It's virtual.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
And
a whole nother reality.
if it's virtual, it's like that's why you call it virtual reality and not actual reality.
What's the difference?
One is virtual and one is real. One is
Can you
not
describe
real.
that to me? 'Cause I mean, like, if I'm on a trip, like, I don't know, like, you can't really tell, like, this is real to me. But if virtual reality gets to the point where, you know, this, like, a virtual reality looks just as real and as a real reality.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Now.
Yeah.
But it will soon, in the very near future.
Well, then we'll see. Then we'll come back to this and we'll see.
Okay. I mean, that's all I'm saying is, like, you know, you're saying, like, basing it off of, like, you know, Google Cardboard. I'm saying,
Yeah.
in
Well, I
regards to,
mean,
like,
I'm saying
an
right
actual
now.
VR environment where I put it in, and it's like the holodeck
Yeah.
of the Enterprise, where, like, I'm literally boom in a whole new environment.
Yeah.
That's trippy
But then
in
again,
itself,
I go
let alone
back to-
adding LSD to it.
Yeah. I mean, and then again, I go back to like focusing on our spirit and our consciousness more so than this realm where we are like here and now, because like that's what it is. We're just focusing on this realm and kind of what we're divulging into like VR headsets. But I really feel like we should be focusing on our spirit and like the unity of this world and the vibrations of it and seeing like what it really has to offer before we like jump into a virtual one where we kind of are like fulfilling like fake things, like fake wants, or like I always say this.
What's a fake want?
Okay, so like I always say this when it's like, oh, you can put on your VR headset and it's like you're at the beach. What if I still think it would be better to actually go to the beach.
What if you can like mentally be at the beach?
Why would I want to
real?
mentally be at the beach? I want to like actually be at
Well,
the beach and
you
put my
feel-
toes in the sand and
because
like
you
jump in the
actually-
water.
Because you actually feel like when you go to the beach, you feel like you're at the beach.
Yeah, because you're at the
What
beach.
if you can mentally feel like you're at the beach?
But you're just mentally feeling that you're not actually.
But
at
how
the
is that
beach.
different?
Because when you're actually at the beach, I can just
But
put.
it-
Let me finish, because you asked me a question. When you're actually at the beach, you can put your feet in the sand. You can run in the ocean, get wet, and like your clothes get soggy and they stick to you, and like you feel the beach air and you smell it. When you're in virtual reality, you see the beach and you like in your mind you're at the beach, but your hands aren't in the sand. You can't smell the air coming off the ocean. You can't like run into the water and then your clothes get wet and you know you get back out and you roll around and you know jump around in the sand. I mean, you can feel that way, it may look that way, but it's not real.
I think we're talking about two different things. Like I'm not talking about VR headsets anymore. I'm literally talking about what if you can feel that virtually. Like, what if you can feel all those sensations virtually? What is the difference?
That's still like just what I said.
No, like you're
because
saying,
if you're feeling that and actually like if you can
If-
feel
if-
like
if
I'm
the-
touching you, but now I'm actually touching you.
but what if what if that feeling is exactly the same?
I don't get it. Sorry.
If it's a virtual feeling, but if that feeling is you can't tell the difference between what's virtual and what's real, what's the difference?
I don't think that's possible.
It will
But
be
more
soon.
when we come back. Someone said, I'm pretty sure that's just me touching myself.
I wasn't asking like, you know, like what is it with virtual reality? I was asking a hypothetical. What if you can make that? If you can actually have.
I understand what you were asking, but my answer
nothing to do with,
is
like,
still
virtual
the
reality.
same because it's still a feeling. Like I don't understand what you don't get about my answer. So I guess we'll just go on in a circle.
Okay.
Credit inquiries in your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid.
What do you
on
want to talk
time.
about next
Don't
segment?
max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts.
I'm reading
Age of
the
these can
thing.
actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit.
All right, well,
You need
you're
several
reading the
accounts
thing.
in order to
I'm
put
reading the
music on.
thing to go.
Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting Van Dyke.
All right, guys, I'm going to play a little Zach
Remember, NMLS
Deputy for you.
3035,
He's going to
Van
be
Dyke Borders, Equal Housing Lender, Charlie
headlining
Sundstrom,
New
NMLS
Hampshire Hempfest and Freedom Rally. He's also going to be down at Strange Creek, and we'll be there soon. So check it out. Hope you guys enjoy it. And go buy your tickets at nhmpfest.com.
Then we do it all again. Give it all up. Oh Lord, I got it. Yo, incredible, hey, this is the right song. I get it in your head. One more lady, let me tell you, we drop it like the bomb. This is the right song. I gotta get it on. The rapping on and on, keep it spitting, pop it up, licking, pop it up at the top of the dome, let me set it again. And you wanna be, what you want is top of me. Tell you on my recipe, you get it really good. Most people never heard real music. Just hit a stereo down. Gotta play a little music, cause the music is what the hell. So I go to town to town. Watch some of people get down low. Make a little bit of noise. Then I do it all again. Do it all again. Oh Lord. Yeah. Most people never heard music. Just get stereo down. I gotta play the real music.
He looks so young in this video.
So I'm going from town to town, watching all my people get down up, make a little bit of noise, then we do it all again. Oh God.
Am I bringing it back?
Then we do it all again.
Our satellite channel is free to listen to. It's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
And welcome back to the Rebel Love Show. This has been a very psychedelic episode. So I guess the big question is, what does psychedelic use have to do with anarchy? How do they directly correlate? You can answer first. I'll go after you.
It frees the mind. You know, it opens your mind up to new ideas, to your existence, to everything else. And also it makes you question, you know, who owns you. You know, if like, why would someone prevent me from discovering who I really am and like thinking outside the box and embracing like my humanity and, you know, just exploring what it is to be a human being.
Yeah.
And why would I allow someone to stop me from doing that? Where like, you know, I've don't get me wrong, you got to be responsible. Some people go way down the rabbit hole and they never come back. You know, you got to be just like with anything else, moderation, you know, be responsible, be smart about it. But at the same time, you know, you got to explore. You got to, you know, I don't want to ever be complacent. I don't want to be just me. I want to evolve. I want to change. I want to embrace, learning new things and expanding my my humanity, my mentality, my consciousness, and that's where like that it intersects with anarchy, because anarchy is pure freedom, and you're able to do so, and that's where you get that huge intersection with.
Yeah. For me, I just feel like it's definitely all about, enlightenment, to give your intellectual or spiritual self like more knowledge of the world and your existence, is like what you said. And then it kind of makes you think, I've been lied to. Even if you take it back down to weed, why can't I smoke this drug? Like, it's a plant. Why can't I have it? And it's all about control. It's all about them trying to restrict you and, your ability to kind of evolve or become enlightened. I see it with things like heroin. Like, every day opiates are being legalized for kids as young as 9. Like, 9-year-olds can take opiates, like, which get you addicted to heroin, which you can't. Weed helps you wean yourself off, but that's illegal. Kratom helps you wean yourself off, and they're trying to make that illegal. But every day, I see the heroin epidemic, and it just makes you question, and it makes me wonder, like, why don't they want us to have things that are good for us versus pushing all this FDA approved pharmaceutical bullshit?
They need to, they're doing this because they need to make people feel as if they have a reason to exist.
Yeah.
And what better reason than to have a system of control? Like, well, we need to have police to arrest people for selling illegal drugs because those drugs are illegal because someone wrote down on a fucking piece of paper that it's illegal to do so, and
But-
other people follow.
Yeah, and it all goes back, to psychedelics and anarchism, because it does make you think. It does make you ponder the infinite and reevaluate yourself. And I feel like once you do that, there's no way possible where you're going to be like, oh yeah, I've done this thing, and now I need to pick my leader. I need to pick who owns me, who controls what I do, where I piss, shit, and eat. And that's not true. We know that's not true. It's easy to figure out. As Ron Paul once said, as I'll say it all the time, once you show someone the ideals of freedom, who would not want to be free? And the answer is no one. No one's going to say no to that. And I feel like every time I've done any kind of psychedelic drug, I've learned something about myself, and, I've learned something about my peers and humanity, and that I want to be a better person, that I want to be kinder, nicer, gentler, because that's what it's about. And we're all unified, and we can do this as a team, and that's what they're afraid of. And it really makes me see that that's what they're afraid of. They don't want us to unite. They don't want us to see the oneness with each other in this universe, because then they can't control you. So I feel like that's how they directly correlate. I don't know what we can do personally to kind of end the drug war or anything like that. I just know that it's a farce, and that every day where, marijuana isn't legalized, which we had our Hemp Fest guest on last time, and we were kind of talking about legalization after the show, and, they made, like, you can get your medical card after you jump through a bunch of hoops, which is great, whatever. But at the end of the day, people who can't, like, afford to do that because you got to pay for your license, or, people who can't, it's not under a certain category, because it only has certain categories it falls under where you can get your medical marijuana card. And if you don't fall into the category where you're shit out of luck, it's sad, because every day, like, people need medicine and they're not getting medicine. Sick people can't get medicine because of the laws and regulations that this government has for us. And I just feel like that's kind of preposterous. And at the end of the day, like, only thing we can do is, like Sterling said, I guess, relational anarchism. And I feel like that's one way to do it. We've embraced the psychonaut kind of community, which is vast. Like, the anarchist community is pretty big, but in a way it's small. There are a lot of psychonauts. There are a lot of people experiencing LSD. And if we can kind of relate this relational anarchism to them and show them, like, yeah, like, you're right. Your views and opinions are right. Like, how do you feel that someone's trying to control you far away in a distant land, saying that you can't do what you want to your body? You can't put what you want into your body. I feel like that's kind of a way to use this, because we are diverging on this new community. And if we can enlighten them, and we connect and we empathize on psychedelic use, that's one way.
No, I absolutely agree. I feel as if we're kind of on, like, and we kind of got our feet in, like, on both sides. We're like we're bringing, like, more, we're like bringing, like, the whole hardcore freedom side to a lot of, like, psychedelic users. A lot of psychedelic users are already there anyways, but I agree with you on that. I would love to see more. I'm not saying everyone should do drugs and stuff like that. I'm not trying to say that, but if you feel the need that you want to, try something out in your life, then you should be able to do so without being with the risk of being thrown into a cage.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like the hippie revolutions, the hippie culture of the 60s and stuff like that, like none of this was really illegal at the time and became illegal because they saw the people standing up to the state.
Yeah.
You know,
it was tons of people like
people thinking outside the box, like hold the phone. War is bad.
Yeah.
Why are we at war and murdering people and we don't even know why? And that's the case now. It's happening all over again. You're getting more and more people waking up to the system.
Yeah.
And psychedelics definitely help that. They also help your own psyche to help you find inner peace.
And I'm gonna go with take on this. Like I said, like the world has never been like the 60s again. Like we're starting to get back to that. And I feel like we still have these psychedelics and now we have tech. And one thing that I think we should be using tech for is to communicate and get together physically and like meet and conjoin. And there should be more protests of these heinous wars, even the war on drugs. Like what the fuck is that? How can you have a war on a phrase? I don't get it. But
it's so intense, the fact that just to think about that we still live under prohibition.
Yeah.
There's still millions of people in jail cells and cages as we speak.
Yeah, and if they had the balls, in the 60s to kind of have this counterculture and protest and sit in the streets and be flower children, and they weren't, lining up across the street so cars couldn't get by. That's just kind of dickish. Like, go to the root of the problem. We need to be like protesting Congress. We need to be meeting. We need to be having these love circles. We need to be fucking playing the guitar and banging the drums. I don't even care. Like, we just need to be getting together and focusing on this like unity that we all have. And we can kind of all unite because we're all anti-violence. Like, that's one thing I've learned about, this kind of psychedelic hippie community is there are some status, whatever. But everyone's a peaceful person for the most part. Everyone wants this kind of equality. And it's because of psychedelics. It's because of this, drug use that they're seeing like, we're all connected. We're brothers and sisters in this life. And, we can all be nice to each other. We can all empathize with each other just based on that. And I feel like the world can definitely be a better place if we all just got together and stopped focusing, on our differences and how we're like and protesting the government like they did in the 60s. We're more evolved than them, starting at a younger age, and that's because of technology. And if we could use this technology to get together and say, no, enough is enough, you can't tell me what I can put in my body or not, then we could really make a difference. Like I want to see the 60s again. Like I want it to be us. I want it to be our generation. And if not, we're gonna raise some hippie ass children, and it can be theirs.
Yeah. I mean, our lives has definitely leaned down that way. I mean, we're gonna unschool. We're gonna they're gonna be flower children, so to speak. I mean, we're not gonna put our kids into school, into government schools. We're not gonna allow these people that think they own us to raise our kids.
Yeah, no, you raise them to be free thinkers, because if it can't happen in our generation, it for damn sure can happen in the next. And anything's possible. Anyway, this has been a great show. I like talking about psychedelics. Also, my newest book, In Love Words, should be available soon. Look for it on Amazon, iTunes, Stitcher, and go like my Facebook page, The Rebel Mistress.
And while you're at it, go check out the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence. We got big fucking news coming down the road this week. So go check out nhandependence.org and rebelloveshow.com. Peace, guys.
Good show.
Frustrated with his increased workload and a litany of interpersonal